Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Um, Firstly, before I start with what I want to say, I just want to pay my respects to Sinner and Lats, both of AJ's personal team that sadly lost their lives a couple of days ago. I think it was 3 days ago now. So my condolences go out to both of them, their families, and also to AJ as well. I can't imagine what he's going through, so yeah, I wish AJ all the best, and I hope he takes a lot of time to heal. And yeah, I just thought I'd start on that note. I also wanted to say as well, the feedback on like some of the interviews we've done in Riyadh were really positive, so thank you so much for that. Before I start with what I want to say as well, I think it's important to maybe give everyone an introduction because we've gained a couple new subscribers. So I started this page in, oh wow, it's February, March time of last year. Time goes quick. But February, March time of last year, I started this page, and the whole premise was to focus on the business side of the sport. I was a law student at the time, so I sort of wanted a way to, I sort of wanted a way in. I still want a way in. So any sports law I was watching, I still want a way in. But I wanted a way in into sports law, and so me alongside a couple of mates, we decided to create a page. First it was going to be a newsletter, then it was a page. We've got a newsletter out now actually, called The Hook. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. A weekly newsletter on a Friday, just summing up some of my thoughts on what's happening in combat sports in particular. But anyway, so it was first going to be a newsletter, and then we started an Instagram page in February, March time, and since then consistently I've posted, if not every day, every other day, and through that we managed to gain connections. We managed to build relationships with Matchroom, and with a couple of other promoters as well. We got our first media pass in June. That was for Galal Yafai against Rodriguez. And then from there we just went to events, and then about on the Box Raw, the apparel company had a sparring club, and on the eve of Chris Eubank Jr. taking on Conor Benn, that was on Friday, November 14th, 3 days after my 23rd birthday. No, 3 days after 23rd birthday. I'm getting old. And then that was when I decided to do my first interview. We got Alex Legavelle from Matchroom. Shout out to Alex. He gave us a really good interview. Gave us a good insight into what happens in Matchroom, and to give us insight into what he's responsible for. He's doing some really good things for Matchroom, so check him out. And then since then I got the bug to just sort of interview people. So I reached out to loads of people in the industry, because the thing with boxing is that, like, obviously you hear from the top, you hear from the likes of Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Frank Smith, but there's a whole undercurrent of people that maybe some people might have heard of, but they're not maybe in the public eye as much as Frank or Eddie. And maybe they want it that way, but there's quite a few of them who maybe don't, who would want to get their story out there. So I thought, you know what, let me just try and interview the people behind that side of the sport. And since then we've interviewed Lee Emptage, Conor Benn's lawyer, shout out Lee. Adam Morley, founder of Brandsmiths, a sports law firm based in Manchester and London, shout out Adam. And we've just reached out to quite a couple of people, and then when it came to Riyadh, I got the opportunity to go. I think it was over Christmas, so not a lot of British media were going over there, and I viewed it as an opportunity to go there and really get my name out. And I managed to get interviews with people who were quite important, but didn't really they didn't really have a voice, in the sense that, like, not a lot of people were clamoring to interview them. So obviously it was a Japanese fight card, so we got David McMahon, who's head of Kyoto PR Group, and he was responsible for bringing over a group of journalists from Japan to sort of market the fight and to sort of make sure that he was getting the airtime it deserved in Japan. So it was really cool to interview him. And I got Ade Oladipo, shout out Ade, shout out David, shout out Frank Eddy, I got them. And yeah, so that's our whole premise of the channel, I guess. But it's taken, the thing I'll say is, like, it's taken a bit of time to you know, trying different things. I started with my phone. I upgraded my phone, and then only recently we bought a camera, and I was still learning how to use that camera, to be honest. There's probably a couple of mistakes I made in the vlogs and in all the stuff I've put out on Instagram and TikTok. But the thing is, like, if I was to give any advice, I don't know, I'm still new, so who am I to give advice to someone? But if anyone is out there who wants to start their own page, just do it. Because if you look back at our first page, it is sort of like, it was quite naff, but we just started. And then the key thing is about starting is that you can iterate and you can really change it in the direction that you want to change it to. So yeah, that's my advice, is just start, and you can keep changing, evolving, keep adding, subtracting things over time. But yeah, anyway, I wanted to talk, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but I wanted to talk a little bit on Dana White and their Paramount deal. So, obviously Dana White, Zuffa Boxing, they signed a Paramount deal with Paramount that will start this year, 2026. Their first sort of shows on the 23rd of January. I think that's in 3 weeks today, and then they've got a UFC show on the 24th, I believe. Now, a big thing with Paramount is that I don't think they've announced any sort of I don't think they've announced any like any fighters on the show. I mean, the show's in 3 weeks, and we don't really have an idea of who's gonna fight. So that's concerning to a sense, but also as well, Dana White has been very anti working with other promoters, right? So he's you know, he's making enemies with Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, almost like I'm gonna do things my way, you guys can do things your way, and there's gonna be no in between. Now, their whole business model is to maybe sign fighters that are up and coming, and will hopefully for them go on to become future stars. Now, the problem is that because this is going so much against the status quo, in the sense that they want to get rid of all the belts, they want to, you know, do things their way. The problem is that if young fighters then decide to sign with Zuffa Boxing, they go there, and then maybe it doesn't work out for them. They want to weigh out. Because of the way Dana White is with other promoters, it might deter other promoters from signing these fighters. So yeah, that's another way. That's another way of thinking about it. Also, as well, there's been reports that you know, they're struggling to sign fighters. Eddie Hearn's come out and said he's looked at some of the contracts that they've done, and they've basically said, like, he's surprised with how little money that they're offering. I guess they want to make it a more, what's the word? I guess they want to tailor it to the UFC model, right? Which is a little bit more centralized. It's controlled a lot more. You know, they've signed a deal with Reebok, which means that fighters can't really have sponsorships on their shorts. It's all like monogamous. Anyway, it's all the same, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's where they're trying to take Zuffa Boxing. They're just trying to make everything the same. So be interesting to see how that develops, and it'll be interesting to see when they announce that that fight, because, as I say, it's only 3 weeks away. So surely they've got some idea who's fighting. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they sort of who they decide to sign. I mean, looking at some of the fighters here, Erickson Garcia, a very good win over Tiger Imanaga on the night of the Samurai card. A very impressive performance. Tiger didn't really look menacing enough, and Garcia deserved the victory. I think he got the knockout in the end. Oh no, I think actually Tiger survived to the final belt, so that he's a good signing. Then you look at the rest of the names, and I mean, like, you know, I've not really heard of any of the others. Jose Valenzuela, Raza Butayev. So I mean, yeah, again, I've not really heard of these names. So, be interesting to see again who they sign. But also as well, it's interesting to see TKO. TKO is like the sort of people behind running Zuffa Boxing, but they're the ones behind like the WWE and I think the UFC. But it's interesting because they're going to get a management fee to sort of run the shows. So apparently there's going to be 2 to 4 mega shows a year, and it's going to be $10 million for a management fee each fight, I believe. So they're making in the region of $40-50 million. So it's entirely Saudi backed by Turkey as well. So I don't know. It seems like Turkey's maybe edging towards working with Dana White and Zuffa, but then he's also got his fingers in his pies with Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, Frank Warren, Boxer Ben Shalom. Seems like he's involved in everything. He's sort of like the anchor that's sort of making sure that we're still getting all the big fights. So it's a very interesting time for the sport going forward. But yeah, I'll leave it there because I've rambled on quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, just a final bit of just the final thing I want to say is just start. Honestly, just start. It doesn't matter if it's shit at the start. Just do it, and you can iterate. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching.